Hey guys, Jamil here from Aravaipa, checking in after the Lone Mountain last person standing race. We just wrapped this up. This was crazy. Here's just a few of my thoughts post-race to kind of clue you in if you either didn't check in during the live stream or kind of missed hearing about this one until after the fact. Wanted to fill you in on a few things, what we learned, what happened out there, why this event was awesome, and why you should consider doing one in the future. These are just a few of my own personal thoughts, and I'm just going to kind of spit it like it is. This is totally unscripted, just here to spend a few minutes talking about it. So I guess first off, where did this concept come from? This is something that is loosely based upon what we did at Across the Years in January. So January 3rd, we organized a last person standing event at our Across the Years, which is a fixed time race. This is something that we've been thinking about doing. I think Mike Dobies might have first thought of it, and it sounded like it could be pretty fun. So we wanted to see what would happen if you, instead of going 4.1667 miles in 1 hour, which is what the Big's Backyard does, and instead we chopped it up a little bit more and started every 15 minutes, kind of what would happen. And it was really fun. I got to participate in that event. I ran a total of 134 miles in, I think, something like 32 hours. Have to check the math on that one. But we wanted to bring something to everyone while we're all kind of still dealing with the pandemic that's going on right now, give people something to watch and spectate. So we decided to create this event. Now, we were going to, where the name came from is we were going to create an event called Lone Cactus, which was going to be in the desert, so kind of last person standing. You imagine like the last cactus is standing in the desert. So we're going to do that in November, and we decided to do a play on the words there. So Lone Mountain became our thing. You know, you're the last mountain standing, so to speak. So we ended up getting around 80 people to sign up when it was all said and done with, and 78 started. So everyone showed up onto a Zoom call starting yesterday morning. So that was, actually, I think we're into Monday morning at this point, but Saturday morning at 8 a.m. here, Arizona time, we started everyone off. Some people chose to run on the treadmill. Some people chose to run out of their home. Some people chose to run out of their car. It was really a mixed bag. It was cool to see what people were doing. And in addition, we launched a piece of software that we have been developing along with Andy, who works with us here. And so this was located at live.aravaiparunning.com. You guys can check it out. It's still live on there. And participants were able to log in and basically record their finish time each lap. So this gave us an instant way to know, okay, who's left in the race, what are their lap times, and what's going on. I participated in a backyard type ultra, kind of last person standing, and we, at the end of every hour, which it was 4 miles in an hour, we would just send via like a Google form, and then they would somehow kind of tell us at the end of the next hour, once everyone had said they were out or in, kind of like how many were left in. So we wanted to do something a little bit more than that, and this worked out really well. It was almost flawless. There was a few issues, but overall really pleased with how this worked out. We had people checking in. We had people on the Zoom call. Not everyone was on the Zoom call, but this was kind of in place of that. And for those that were going all the way, we asked that they verify their runs via Strava or take pictures of their treadmill or whatever they're doing. So I think that also worked pretty well. So how did this all play out? Well, our first runner to go out made it 8 laps, so 2 hours, and that was Trent Collicott, and he, I think, was running with a broken foot, so that was interesting. And then from there, it was kind of every few laps, we had people that were starting to pull the plug. They would kind of just tell us via Zoom and hang out a couple minutes, tell us their experience. That was really neat. It was a chance to, in a virtual race setting, to kind of learn more about the people participating. And it was awesome having them check in with us. Some people, it was the longest run they had done since the quarantine, since the lockdown, since an injury, or just in general. I was also amazed at the number of people that participated that had never run an ultra before. That was really inspiring to see. Tons of people had never run 20 miles before. They had never run a marathon before, and they seemed to really like the format. So as this continued on, we had several different commentators on our live stream. They're kind of popping in, popping out. And us as the organizers, we really had no idea what to expect. It's such a unique format, even not only for the participants, but for us as well. We're just kind of hanging out and just see, you just have no idea, is this going to go 1 day, 24 hours, 36 hours? Some of these events have gone as long as 68 hours. So we were kind of in the back of our heads thinking, man, how long could this go? So we were also broadcasting the entire event, live streaming on YouTube, and it was fun to have people tuning in. So early on, we maybe had 50 people that were hanging out, and I think it peaked at the very end around 275 people. So it was great having people from the community tuning in. Some people had us on, I think, all weekend, which was really great. We had a total of, it seemed like by the time we hit about the marathon mark, actually right around 20 miles, we had a ton of people dropping out. A couple at the marathon mark and a few at the ultra. And let's see, by the time we got past 50 miles, we had just 13 people left out of the original 78. And I believe there was 3 women and the rest were men. And at 50, we had Remy pull out, and then Alyssa Dunlap was also going to pull out, and she did really great. She was, I think, up there with Jake Jackson, who ended up winning the race. I guess, like, spoiler alert. Both of them were kind of neck and neck for the fastest laps throughout most of the first 50 miles. She was doing great. She was running on an outdoor course. Jacob, of course, was on his treadmill, mainly in his garage, but she did great and decided to stop and said she was just bored and wanted to go hang out with her friends and family who were giving her support on the front porch. So she called it a day. And soon after that, we had a couple more drop out. Patrick McMahon, Heather LeConte, she went 57 loops, and a couple more guys, Tyler McDaniel and Stephen Park at 63 and 65 miles. And then Jax Mariesh, she ran 66 out of her car. It was stationed in a parking lot near Frisco, Colorado, I think so that she could find some flatter terrain because she's up at 10,000 feet in the mountains. But she ended up getting rained on almost the whole day and still eked out 66 miles. And I think she said she just didn't want to recover all week and had a bunch of mountains to climb. So I definitely don't blame her for that. James Blackwell ran 69 laps. Nathan Wren, 70 laps. And that was his longest run by quite a bit. I think a PR by 20 miles in terms of distance. And that brought us down to our final 4. So 4 people went over 100 miles. Because of how the math worked out, instead of hitting 100 miles in 24 hours, we hit 100 miles in 25 hours because we just did an even 1 mile every 15 minutes. So Jace Hensley, he got to 100 and he was going to wait and see if anyone else dropped out. He ended up going 102 and said his goal was really just to hit 100 miles, which we figured some people would. Next up, Buck Blankenship. This guy's awesome. He's from Flagstaff. He was supported by Rob Krar. They had a pop-up tent in his front yard, and he had an out and back course in his neighborhood. He did the same exact out and back course every time, and he had to be one of the most consistent runners throughout 90% of his run until he hit the last, I'd say, 15 laps, which they started just kind of escalating upwards in time until he timed out at lap 123. That's brought us to our final 2. So Hector Rodriguez, Jacob Jackson, these guys battled it out. They went well over 20 miles beyond where Buck pulled the plug, which I think is pretty typical of these races. When you get down to the final 2, they tend to go for quite a while longer, but that's really the only way you can get significant miles in these events is if you have someone else to push you. Because as soon as one person quits, the winner just has to do one more lap. And so ultimately, Hector started to have a decline maybe around 130 laps. This is the furthest he's gone. His previous longest distance run was 100 miles at Aravaipa Strong. It was really neat to see him he gave it all. I mean, this guy, you could tell he was hurting and he did not stop. He kept pushing. It was pretty inspiring. He had a huge support crew. It was awesome to see. And Jake Jackson, man, he's just so experienced. He's been on the 24-hour world team from the US. And so we were expecting big things from him, and we got it. I mean, he looked like the Terminator or like a machine, just running pretty much even splits the whole time. He looked as good on his last lap as he did on his first. So all the best to Jacob in his endeavors. I know he was supposed to be going for something real big and real special at 24 Hours in the Dome. That was supposed to happen this past weekend. It was cool to see him take part in this event. I'm sure he wouldn't have done this otherwise if that hadn't gotten canceled. So it was awesome watching him run and be so strong. And hopefully we'll be lucky enough to get him for an in-person last person standing race in the near future. We had some fun stuff happen on the live stream. We're gonna get those feeds up on YouTube in replay mode. We had a little issue. Our Zoom call went out after 24 hours, so we had to reboot that and start it over. We did get it back up and running for the second day. I'd just also like to thank all of our support team. So Andy Klink with timing, Jubilee Page for back-end work. Of course, like our design and artworks team for everything they do to get the logos, all the swag out, everything for Aravaipa Virtual that helps make these events special and keep our community connected right now. We want to thank all of our commentators that jumped in just as volunteers, basically. Chris Warden, we had Skylar Hall, Noah, we had Jem who ran the race. He jumped back in for a really long time. It was a lot of fun chatting with people, and it gave me a chance to take a couple naps. I probably yawned 1,000 times on that live stream, so I apologize. I am not the most well rested going into this thing, so if in any way you felt like I was out of it, I'm sorry. I literally was out of it for part of this, but thankfully we have such a great team. So looking ahead to the future for Aravaipa Virtual, we want to keep this as part of our company. So going forward, we plan to have several virtual events going on throughout the year, even when we return to real races. We've loved connecting with runners from all over the world, all over the country, and we want to keep that connection going. So if you guys want to check out our future and upcoming events, go to aravaiparunning.com/virtual, and you can see an upcoming calendar of what we have going on and some of our new events. We may have even created new ones in our head after this event because it was just so fun. I really didn't want it to end. I just wanted it to keep going and see how people were doing. So hopefully we'll have some more of these last person standing style events. I think they're really fun. It's just unique. It's a unique format, and I think it really is fun for spectators and draws people together. So stay tuned for that. I think that's about all I have. We're gonna get this awesome award out to Jake. We'll mail it out. So if you guys want any other swag from this Aravaipa virtual event, go check out the Lone Mountain website. We'll have links to our store there. You can pick up any of the cool swag. It's such an awesome logo. We love putting all this together for you guys. Anyways, don't want to make this too long, but hopefully you now have a sense of what happened out there for our inaugural Lone Mountain Last Person Standing event, and we hope to see you at the next one. Bye.